I'm Paul Willis from the Westmont English Department. I've been asked to select and comment on a few poems that speak to our current COVID pandemic experience. I first thought of Shakespeare, who had only been acting and writing plays for 4 or 5 years when the theaters in London were closed down by the plague in the early 1590s for a year or two. And Shakespeare turned to writing non-dramatic poetry. He wrote most of his sonnets, probably a couple of non-dramatic narrative poems as well. And his sonnet 97 stuck out to me. It's about feeling absence, separation from a loved one, as many people have during this time of separation. And the separation takes place in the summer, as it has for us, but the summer, because of these unusual circumstances, feels like winter to the speaker. Sonnet 97 by Shakespeare. How like a winter hath my absence been from thee, the pleasure of the fleeting year. What freezings have I felt, what dark days seen, what old December's bareness everywhere. And yet, this time removed was summer's time, the teeming autumn, big with rich increase, bearing the wanton burthen of the prime, like widowed wombs after their lord's decease. Yet this abundant issue seemed to me but hope of orphans and unfathered fruit, for summer and his pleasures wait on thee, and thou away. The very birds are mute, or if they sing, 'tis with so dull a cheer that leaves look pale, dreading the winter's near. So that's Shakespeare, Sonnet 97. He can't enjoy the summer, he can't enjoy the beginning of autumn, as we're trying to. The time feels widowed and orphaned, and the birds of summer seem to be dreading winter. Sonnet of separation, as we feel separation. When the shelter in place first began, I wrote this poem about, I think, a month into the experience of what it was like. It's called Words to the Wise. After a month of sheltering in place, you'd think we'd finally have the guts to face the possibilities of illness, death, dry coughing, burning lungs, the loss of breath. But no, the most important thing for us is who beat whom in Scrabble. All the fuss of triple word scores, arcane spellings, where the Q's and Z's and X's might prepare their owners for decisive victory. So we distract ourselves. So nightly we persist by thinking numbers of the dead could not call up our number. Leave unsaid the randomness of letters we may draw. All vowels, all consonants stuck in our craw. Forgetting the grim reaper soon may spell our way to heaven or our way to hell. But what, I pray, is the alternative? To watch the news incessantly, to live as if the plague were all we have of life, press briefings, experts, presidential strife. I say, play on. I say, what is the score? The game is over. Let's play one game more. That poem was published in a journal of light verse called Light. And I don't know if it's light or heavy. Certainly it is about ways in which we've tried to distract ourselves, but even our distractions turn serious, and there's something about let's play one game more, that persistence that we feel in the face of the pandemic. Here's a more serious poem by a poet friend of mine in Santa Barbara, Chris Yost. It's called Senescence, which is a fancy word for growing old. It also is about sheltering in place, and Chris suffers from a heart condition, so she's been more careful than most about staying in. Senescence. Like most of our kind, we stay in now. The old, the higher risk, the fatalists. The moon slivers down and fills again with light. Our car is slowly buried in a litter of leaves. The garden lush with our attention. There are birds we know by name, hummingbirds and scrub jays, and still one tattered hen who surprised us both by outliving her flock. Tonight's guest trots along the fence, a possum, umbered by the sunset, heads toward the plums. Already she is staking out her claim. I love this poem. Our worlds grow small in this time of pandemic, but our small worlds also grow large as we get to know them more attentively. This next poem, called Pandemic, I think also written early on, it has a date of March 11th, 2020 on it. It was recommended to me by my colleague Marilyn McIntyre. It's written by Lynn Unger, who's a Bay Area poet. And it I think urges us to make the most of the time as an opportunity for spiritual perfection, perhaps. Pandemic by Lynn Unger. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling. Give up just for now on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, as long as we all shall live. I love that turn on the last line, as long as we all shall live. Instead of course, till death do us part from the marriage ceremony. I think that takes me back to Shakespeare, just as Lynn Unger expressed the opportunity, the necessity of developing true love for one another in this time. Shakespeare, in his Sonnet 116, one of his most magnificent sonnets, talks about the marriage of true minds, to which he wants no impediments, an echo of the marriage service, just as Lynn Unger echoed the marriage service at the end of her poem. It is a poem, Shakespeare's poem is about the power of love. I think of a little sign that I saw a picture of in Isla Vista. I don't know how widespread this little jingle is, but 6 feet apart, together in heart. I think that expresses some of what Shakespeare's maybe trying to express. So, I'll end with this. Shakespeare's Sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. I catch a little echo of 1 Corinthians 13 in that line that love bears it out even to the edge of doom. Remember, the Apostle Paul, love bears all things. And then instead of some clever twist at the end of the sonnet, Shakespeare simply signs his name to it. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. If there's not such a thing as love that transcends death, transcends a plague, transcends a pandemic, nothing he wrote is worth anything. No love one person ever had for another is worth anything. And that's emphatic. It's about as emphatic as Shakespeare gets. So thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed these poems.